So welcome to this video. In this video, we're just going to review some skills that you're going to see in one of your first homework assignments. So for this first problem here, they're just asking you to find the slope, and you would need to remember the slope formula, which is shown here. Your y values, those are your output values, and that's going to be this 1 and negative 15. Those are going to go on the top. You'll have negative 15 minus 1 on the top. And then on the bottom, you're using your input values. And that's going to be the 2 and the 6. So I'm going to say 6 minus 2 on the bottom. And then just simplify. I'm sure you've seen this many times. And your slope is -4. We actually will use slope quite a bit this semester, so it's just good to review that. So in this next example here, and I apologize, I know the font is a little small to read here, but they're talking about a utility considers demand for electricity low if it is below 5. And what they've done here is filled in this first one for you, okay? Because you're basically just expressing these in interval notation. So, so if you've got between 0 and 5, bracket on the 0, parenthesis on the 5, that would match that statement there. And then it says it's average if it's at least 5 million kilowatts, but below 30 million kilowatts. And then we would need to write that in interval notation. So if it's at least 5, okay, that would be a bracket on the 5 because that includes 5. But then it says below 30. So you would need to use a parenthesis. So this is up to 30, not including 30, right? Okay, and then for high, it says at least 30 million kilowatts, but below 50 million kilowatts. Okay, so that's going to be a bracket on the 30 to 50, parenthesis on the 50. So it includes the 30, but just up to 50, not including 50. And then critical is going to be what you're seeing right through here. If it is more than 50 million kilowatts. Okay, so there's no upper limit on that. So, sorry, I think I read that wrong. If it is 50 million kilowatts or more, so it will include the 50. And then there's no upper limit, so you can just use infinity there. And we always use a parenthesis with infinity, okay? So like I said, just practice taking a description and representing that in interval notation. Okay, so another formula you'll see in there, and once again, I know the font's kind of small, is they're just giving you this formula here. It's a formula used in science, and they talk about, the details in the problem. You can read that when you're working on your homework. And but what they're doing is they're providing you with a hip to shoulder length of 16 feet, okay? So you're just going to use your formula. So it's going to be 0.4 times 16 to the 3/2 exponent. So one thing I want you to remember, in this class, we're going to use Excel for everything we do, okay? So in Excel, all right, you're going to put this formula in. You'll use equals, and then a 0.4 times 16, and then you'll use your little exponent. And then remember, it is very important that you use parentheses around that 3/2 because we need Excel to know that all of this is in the exponent position. If you leave those parentheses off, okay, so if I just write it like this, which is what a lot of students do by mistake, it only thinks the 3 is in the exponent position, and then it thinks you're dividing by 2. All right, so we don't want to do it like this. Get that out of there. Okay, we want to make sure we're using the parentheses around that exponent. Okay, and so you'll just put that into Excel and then hit enter, and you should get 25.6. Okay, and then that is feet. You can see Webassign has that unit in there for you. But practice, keying to Excel is good practice to make sure things are working okay for you. Okay, and then here we've got a graph that's given. Okay, and then they're asking for these function values. Okay, so like here when it's saying f of 1, okay, 1 is an input value, so we want to look at our input values. So we're talking about this 1 down here on the x-axis. Okay, then we're going to go up to our graph, okay, which is right in there, and we're going to look at what output is happening for that input, and that is 90. So that would be the answer for that box right there is 90. Okay. Let's just do another one. We'll skip down to, let's do this part B. That's a good one here. So our input is 2. So I'm going to look at 2 on my input. I'm going to go to my graph, find that point that has that input, and then I'm interested in this output. So notice here the scale, okay, is like, so here you're going from 90 to 100. So where we're at would be halfway between there. So that would be, they're going by 45, it's a scale of 45 here. So this next spot right here, okay, would be 90 plus 45, so it'll be 105. Okay, so that would be what you would put in that box. Sorry, darn, I just completely added that wrong. Oops, sorry, 135. Thought, wow, that seems awfully small. Okay, 135. Let me fix that over here. That's what happens when you're making a video. There's all these things to think about at one time, and you do silly mistakes. All right, so then when you look at part E, okay, so part E is f of 3 minus f of 2. All right, so we need to figure out what we have for f of 3. So f of 3, okay, f of 3 is going to be, because here would be 3, right? So that would be another 135 right there. Okay, so here I'm going to take what I got for f of 3, which is 135, and subtract what I got for f of 2, which is also 135, and that would be 0. So the answer for that box would be 0. But now if you look at this guy right here, this is saying f, and then you got parentheses 3 minus 2. So you can actually just simplify 3 minus 2 as 1, and then we're going to figure out what f of 1 is, which we already figured out that up here, right? That's f of 1 is your 90, okay? So that would be 90 in that box. Okay, so they're just showing you some different function notations. So just, it's just good review, right? Looking at a graph using input, output values. Okay, so then here's an example where they're giving you a g of x function. So they're not giving you the graph, and they're wanting you to find g of 0 and then g of -1. So I wanted to remind you, practice using Excel. Okay, so I've got some screenshots down here, and what I did for my inputs is I used 0 and -1. You can see that here. And then for my formula, I'm using this g of x function that was given to type in this formula. So it's 7, and then cell referencing a2 squared minus a2 plus 5, okay, and then I filled that formula down, okay, right, so I typed in the formula one time, then filled it down, and it found both of those output values. So what you should be seeing in Excel are these output values, okay? So like that's just a quick way to find that should be 5 there, and then that will be 13 there in that box, okay? So remember, use Excel, try to think about these problems like what you would see in, how you would use it in Excel. Now for this G of R, okay, this part C, that is just telling you, you want to basically take out the x and you're going to swap in an r. So we're basically, just to find g of r, we're going to have 7r squared minus r plus 5. So everywhere you have an x, you're just putting in an r. And that's what you're gonna put down here in this box, is the 7r squared minus r plus 5. Okay. And then for this g of x plus h, that's saying take out the x, take out your x, but replace it with that x plus h. So everywhere you have an x, put in an x plus h. Be careful with your algebra here. So g of x plus h will be 7. And then you'll have x plus h squared minus x plus h plus 5. Okay. And then what you can do is simplify this down. So you need to FOIL this out. First, outer, inner, last. You have two binomials. Multiply those together. Okay, and then you will distribute our 7 in the next step. Okay, so I'm going to bring my 7 through. So 7x squared plus 14xh plus 7h squared. Distribute your subtraction all the way through that binomial. Make sure it goes to both terms. And then plus 5. And then this is what you will put in the box. Okay. Your answer there. Okay. So like I said, just a few examples here to just kind of talk you through some of the things you're going to see on this review assignment. I did not work through every single problem, so if you have some other questions, feel free to reach out with your questions, but these are some of the ones that I usually get a lot of questions on, so that's why I chose these, and I'll see you guys in the next video.